This is the plaintiff, Chris Chryselius. She says the defendant has some of her valuable tools, and the louse won't give them back. He has no right holding her property hostage, and she's here in the name of justice, suing him for the $1,676.70 she's owed. This is the defendant, Stephen Dell Jr. He says he and the plaintiff have been friends for over 20 years, and she owes him money on some handyman work he did. She refuses to pay him, and until she does, her tools are in a nice, safe place. He is accused of stealing. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $4,728 for unpaid work and pain and suffering.
All parties, please hit your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Chryselius, you are suing Mr. Dell for a series of tools and kayak that you left in his possession that you now want back, that he's refusing to return. And he is counterclaiming against you for paychecks that you have in your possession that you're refusing to give him. You two knew each other and were good friends before this, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so what happened?
So he moved in with me. He borrowed my personal property to do some handyman work, not just on my properties, but on other people's properties. Him and I, in July of this year, some information came my way that he was bad-mouthing me to my clients. I'm a realtor and a property manager, and my clients brought to my attention that he was accusing me of stealing from my clients, and that was totally false. And so then at that point, I decided to terminate our friendship and to terminate any further work with me, and requested my property to be returned in July of this year.
Well, let me ask you, when you say any further work with you, were you hiring him to do work on clients' houses?
Yes, on my rental properties, as well as referring him out to other clients and people.
How often were you hiring him?
Whenever I had a job, whether it be a service call or
No, but is that once a month or once a week? Like, I'm just trying to get a feel for it. How often were you giving him business that he would be this stupid to trash you to other people?
It was quite a bit. And not only that, but I have 5 agents and my broker of my entire real estate firm that was using him. And we all just cut ties with him because he was not doing the right thing. Not just
okay, so what happens?
Not showing up on jobs and stuff like that with clients.
What did you? Yeah, but it was this. This was the problem, though, wasn't it? When it got back to you that he was bad mouthing you. So how did you break to him that, listen, we have a problem and I want all of the tools I loaned you back?
I tried to call him. He refused to take my calls. I text messaged him. I Facebooked him. I have messages from him saying, I'm going to bring it back. I'll be there this Friday. I'm going to bring your stuff. I have this. Can we exchange it for money? All of it. But the problem,
why exchange it for money? Because you had, just a second, why exchange it for money? You have apparently some paychecks of his that you refused to give him.
I have some contract work checks from my brokerage that, because he used my property on the jobs, I told him when he dropped it off, he could sign the checks, he could have the checks. I have the checks here ready for him. It's two different, that's coming from my brokerage,
what's going
not me
on?
Personally.
What's happening, Mr. Dell? What's your version of what's happening?
Okay, so like she said, we were friends for a very long time, and we did discuss the exchange of the property. And the issue is that the items that she has, or that I borrowed or was using on her projects, are larger than I can fit into my car at this point. I had a truck, it broke down, I needed money to fix it. I asked for the money that she owed me so that I could at least fix it, or at least rent a truck to get her items to her. That never happened. So there was many times that she'd pay me through Zelle, Venmo, other forms of payments as well. Like, rather than just going to her house and just picking it up, I was not able to deliver these products.
Yeah, but it's from the brokerage firm. She's not going to Zelle it from her personal account to you. And, you got to get out of your own way. You're a handyman. You can't I don't care. You can't figure out how to get back a pressure washer to someone's house, because any vehicle transportation will do it. You don't need a big U-Haul truck, which you can rent for $19.99. So none of what you're saying makes any sense to me, seriously. It doesn't.
Well, it's a
You could have
kayak.
returned the stuff.
It's a kayak and a 22-foot ladder.
Oh, what'd you do with the kayak? What'd you do with the kayak, by the way?
The kayak I had to sell in order to put food on my table.
Exactly what I thought he did.
So you sold her a kayak. Let me ask you a question. How much did you sell her a kayak for?
$150.
You know that's not your kayak. How do you go around selling her kayak? Did you know he sold your kayak, Ms. Crecilius?
Did not.
Are you learning this?
Suspected it. I suspected it. I suspected.
What's he doing with your kayak? Why does he have your kayak?
Because we actually used to go kayaking together, and it was easier for him.
Why don't
He'd
you
throw it
have
on
your kayak?
The last time we went kayaking, he took it to his house, and that was the last I saw of it.
She had asked me to take it because she did not have the room where she used to keep it.
That sounds more credible. Right.
I have a 4-bedroom house. I have plenty of room.
Well, then why does he have your kayak? Like
garage.
Other people don't have my kayaks. I have my kayak. I'm wondering why a Floridian has. There's only one reason a Floridian has someone else with their kayak, and that's because they don't have room, or that someone else lives on the water, so it's really easy to launch. Those are the only two reasons. Do you live on the water, Mr. Dell?
No.
No,
Okay,
but
so
I used
why
to
does he have
strap
your
it to my
kayak?
truck,
Why does he have
and
your
I used to
pressure
transport
cleaner?
it.
Now you got. Oh, what happened with the truck? Why didn't you just use that same truck to bring back her pressure cleaner and the kayak?
As I stated earlier, that truck, it had recently broke down, and I can't use that.
From when to when was your truck broken down?
Oh, gosh.
What are you doing now? Just flapping in the wind? You don't have anything to do? Like, you don't have a working vehicle, so you can't work. So what are you doing? How are you surviving? How are you putting food on your table now that the kayak
I do have a car. I do have a car, and the few clients that I do have that are not related to her.
What kind of a car do you have? Okay. So she's complaining that you have her pressure washer. Does it fit in the Camaro?
That's how he picked it
could,
up.
but it's actually really, it's difficult, and it actually is, it ruins, every time you put it in or take it out, it's destroying the fabric of my car. So,
how many times have you put it in and out of your car? Why don't you just put plastic down and return her pressure cleaner? Why don't we be frank with each other? She fired you not because you're late to jobs, but because you trashed her. And you refused to give her stuff because she's now holding your paycheck hostage. Have I got it? Because I don't think it has anything to do with anything else. It's not the dog ate my homework. It's not I can't figure out how to get the pressure cleaner to her. It's not my truck's not working. Because if you guys had done that, I wouldn't be here, right? But you don't trust her and she doesn't trust you. All over you trashing her one night. Tell me about that. What is it that got said? Because according to her, she's responsible for getting you a bunch of business. So tell me what it was that got said that caused this friendship to go into the toilet.
Okay, so her and one of her realtors were at odds, and there was a conversation had because she wanted to sell this house that she was managing for rentals for this for the owner. And the issue came up where there was work that was supposed to be done at the house that he paid her to do, and he asked me if I did those jobs, and I said no. Then he was asking why weren't they done if I already paid her to do it, and there was a whole conversation had between the three people, the homeowner, another realtor that was in the process of selling the house, and that realtor, rather than getting mixed up in the drama, went back and told her that that conversation was had.
Well, what did you say that made her so mad? I mean, it cost a friendship. No. Answer the question. What was it you said, or what was it they told her you said that caused such a brouhaha? What was it they told her you said? All right, what you tell me, Ms. Crecilius. What was it they told you he said?
He said that I was taking invoices and swapping them out and paying the cheaper invoice and keeping the difference in the money when in actuality, this client paid all his own invoices. The money did not come through me. He paid them himself. So he knew it was a flat out lie. And that's why he called me and told me this situation. And I tried to confront Stephen immediately when I heard that, and he wouldn't take my calls.
Okay. All right. So, well, what have you got? You've got her pressure cleaner, right, Mr. Dell?
Correct.
You have her ladder.
Correct.
Okay. The power tool set, what kind of power tool set was it, and what happened to that?
The power tool set was loaned out to me to do some of her projects, and after about a year of doing the projects, the tool set battery charger stopped working.
So I have a question for you, Ms. Crecilius. What happened with the power tool set?
He basically used the tools until they no longer worked.
Where are those power tools now? Did you get rid of them?
Yeah, they were gotten rid of.
How did you get rid of them?
Probably they were thrown away or whatever. They were just of no use. They
What's
didn't
whatever?
no longer
Did you
make
sell
a
'em?
charger. No, I did not sell them. They were thrown away.
Do you have the dryer lint cleaner?
Yes.
You sold the kayak, we went over that. And the defamation of character is the stuff that we've already gone over, the conversation of that night. Do you have any proof of that, of what was actually said? Do you have a statement by the person who heard it or anything like that? Do you have them as a witness here today?
I do not.
Okay, so let me hear from you on your, you wanted to respond to that, and then we'll talk about your counterclaim. Go ahead, Mr. Dell.
Okay. I'm heartbroken over this whole situation because Chris is, in my heart, still a dear friend to me. And I did not want this to happen at all. I really didn't. The kayak I sold for, to put food on my table, at some point I was in my mind thinking I was going to replace it and give it back to her or whatever. That didn't happen. Feelings got involved. We got mad. We've had our ups and downs.
It sounds to me like something really bad happened that day or night that was preventable by not saying things that were said, because you bit the hand that fed you really, really hard, it sounds like.
I'm not the only person that has things to say about Chris, and there's a lot of, people having adult conversations about Chris, and unfortunately, it did come back to her. We're not all happy about how she handles her stuff. I mean, for one of her units, I'm the person that they call every time they have a problem. They don't call Chris because Chris doesn't answer. I was their go-to person, and I helped her out a lot more than just going and turning a wrench. A lot more. I have, messages from one of her clients where she was charging her for destroying the blinds, when I know, in fact, that the blinds were already destroyed when she moved in. And it's things like that that just built up and built up. And I know for a fact, she's already been reported, this lady that I had contact with, to, the Realtor Commission or whatever it is. So it's not just me, and I love Chris, but, I'm not going to lie for her. I'm not going to fake it. If it ruins our friendship, so be it. But I'm not going to be a fake person. I'm going to have these conversations with people, and there's no way around it.
Right, and I cannot imagine how fortunate you are, Ms. Crecilius, that he has not filed his own complaint with the administrative board that regulates you for keeping 2 paychecks over a personal matter. If that's work he did, and we know it is because you have these checks in your possession from your brokerage firm, and they're his, how dare you keep them? Because you have a personal problem with him, with your personal stuff with him. How is it that no one's mad at you for that? I don't get it, because that's pretty bad. That's pretty unprofessional. How long did you guys know each other, Ms. Crecilius?
20 years. 20 years.
Let me ask you a question. Because at different parts of this trial, he's been tearing up. A moment ago, I think that you were tearing up. And I don't know, maybe you guys have 1,000 friends you've known for 20 years, or maybe you don't. How did it get this bad? How did it get this bad, Ms. Crecilius? Like, how did it get that people couldn't just apologize for saying things they shouldn't have said at that moment in anger, and accepting apologies, and maybe not having business dealings again, but at least calmly trading each other's checks and properties so that you wouldn't end up in litigation?
There was no apologies. There was no admitting fault, because he's right. He's always right in what he's saying about me, because he did it a lot, where he talked about me behind my back to clients, to other realtors, and I don't need that kind of drama and challenging my ethics in my life. I don't.
I mean, those are decisions that you have to make. It takes a really, really long time to grow an old friend.
I agree.
And there are things that friends of mine have said or done that have upset me. and you kind of just, figure, is it worth it? I don't know, maybe it is, maybe, but I'm looking at the two of you and you both appear to be in such pain. And this is your business. I'm just going to rule on what's in front of me, but you have a life and you have a life. And we only have borrowed time on this earth. And I just want to urge both of you, as someone who has lived longer and probably seen more, that maybe you reconsider whether you want to completely trash a 20-year friendship. Mr. Dell, she says you never apologized. Is that true or not true?
I did in text messages, which is kind of terrible.
Have you ever had a chance to apologize in person?
No,
And
because...
if not, you're in
Made an
person
attempt.
now. Is there anything you want to say now?
Of course, I'm deeply sorry, and I want you to know that.
Okay. How about you, Ms. Crecilius, while we're at it? Keeping $2,378 that belongs to him because you're complaining about what he took from you. Is there anything you feel that you need to apologize for?
I am sorry I kept it. I'm sorry that I've had the checks on my desk since July 7th, and I'll put them in the mail today to the last known address I have for you.
Well, before you put them in the mail, I want you two to hold them. My staff is going to make sure it gets from point A to point B. Okay?
Okay.
As for the pressure washer, the attachment, the ladder, the dryer lint cleaner, those things, we're going to make arrangements for them to be transferred. As for the power tool set, I don't believe he needs to buy you a new power tool set if your power tool set just died its natural death. That's not from anything that he did. As for the kayak, I am ordering him to pay you $150, which is probably the depreciated value of a kayak. Mr. Dell, what are these things that you introduced into evidence about a cat surrender and a dog surrender? What does that have to do with us?
Because of the whole check holdings, I was unable to pay rent, and this led to an eviction, and I had to surrender all my pets, and now I live in my car.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And
You paid for a boat during that time. You haven't paid rent in 7 months. You trashed our house and left all the pets. I talked to your property owner yesterday because, you know what?
That's not
She's
true.
one of my clients.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Stephen, you're a shyster.
Oh, that's going a long way towards healing fences. I don't know whether he's hamming it up for the camera or for me to feel bad or for you to feel bad. I don't know what's happening. You apparently think he's just hamming it up. But do you think you did no damage by keeping his paycheck? You can't possibly think that, right?
No, ma'am. And I told him from
That was a
July 7th
rhetorical
on.
question. I do not want to hear another word from you. Do not talk again. I'm going to do the math. Return the pressure washer. We're going to make the arrangements. Return the attachment. Return the ladder. She does not get to have her power tool set repurchased for her. Return the dryer lint cleaner. Pay her the $150 that you got for the kayak. And I am not going to order you to pay $500 for speaking your mind. It ended up costing you a hell of a lot more than that. As for the countersuit, I am going to order you to turn over, and we are going to make arrangements to have those turned over, the $2,378 in those checks. But I am also going to order you to personally pay interest from the date that those checks were issued, plus court costs. I am not going to award pain and suffering. This is not a pain and suffering case, even though there is no doubt in my mind that there has been a lot of pain and suffering. It is not a compensable pain and suffering case. It is a bunch of people not knowing how to act decently. That's what it is. Good luck to you.
Let's talk first to Ms. Crecilius and see what she thinks about what the judge just ordered. What are you thinking, ma'am?
I think it was unfair. I think that Stephen had plenty of time to come and deliver my property. I even offered to pick up my property, but instead he chose to ruin a really good friendship and a business working relationship because he can't shut his mouth when talking negative about people. He likes to be in the drama. but whatever.
What about the friendship, which the judge focused a lot on?
It's done.
Is that repairable or
I-
not?
No, not at all.
All right. Stephen, let me ask you, how about your situation? How do you feel about the outcome of this?
I hate the fact that I'm going to lose a friendship, but at the same time, I'm not going to sugarcoat how she operates her business. And, you know, I've made a lot of relationships through her, and she's lost a lot of her own on her own. And I'm just not going to lie. I'm just going to tell the truth the way it is. It's just tragic, the whole thing.
Well, the case is over now, and the judge made her decision, and I'm sure you're appreciative of that. Let's see what the judges have to say now. A lot to talk about on this case.
There's an old Yiddish saying that a fool is his own informer. And for him to be talking like about his client and trashing, you know, his blue chip client who's paying him big money apparently, and is the money tree for him, was just, it's hard to understand.
Yeah, it's just complicated when
Pretty
you do
careless.
business with friends, because you think you can, you speak your mind, and he just kept saying, unfortunately, it got back to her. Well, it only can get back to her if you said it, so.
Oh yeah, it was just really incredible that they couldn't bridge the gap and come together and just talk this through.
I mean, they don't have to be friends, but maybe they could just give back the property and give
the hostages.
Release the hostages mutually at a mutually agreed upon site.
But
It's
how about just as a general practice, don't trash the people you're working with like that. I mean, come on, we all see salespeople, service people, tradesmen who are really successful, and they don't have to be the best at what they do, but what they are is they're nice. They're nice people. You can trust them. They're not going to trash you behind your back, and you know that goes a long way.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. You know, when he says, "Oh, I'm just going to be honest." Well, sometimes you can just not talk.
Right. Yeah, bite your tongue.
You can just not talk, and then maybe it doesn't get this far.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Catherine wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, with COVID going around, stores are starting to require payment with credit cards only or exact change, even asking customers to round up their total so they don't have to give back change. Is this legal? Well, look, a store can charge you whatever it wants. If a store wants to mark something up, they can legally mark something up. So in a situation like this, if they say we are going to round up because of COVID, honestly, I would be shocked if a judge would call that store owner on the carpet. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom.